all of these people of greatness have this in common. Why are we not like checking this out? Like it's right in front of us, literally right in front of us. Oh my God, Riley, we're doing this. You know, what is this? I don't even know. We're episode 1, episode 2. We haven't even gotten to Get Back yet. Oh my God. We're like, talk about an opportunity.
Well, I think one of the most interesting parts of the Get Back documentary is just after the cops have finally come in, the amps have been turned off, everybody's sort of closing down, everybody's walking away, and then you see people on the street, and they just start walking off, and they just start resuming their own life, and they just start, like, there is this moment where, you know, looking back on it, if there was ever a moment for these people to have a chance to break through and to think about things in a different way, it was in this moment. And because they weren't prepped for it, because they weren't primed for it, they didn't realize it. They didn't realize this was the last time the Beatles were ever performing. London life just goes right back to normal, and it's just all swept as if it never really happened.
True.
Like within seconds of it ending. And I thought that was such a great metaphor for sort of how you're looking at the world and how people who, you know, you really have to... It does have to be a conscious effort to start that catalyst, or you're going to have all these moments that pass you by that could have been that catalyst. I wonder if you can speak to that and sort of what your catalyst was and how you captured that and sustained it.
I mean, it was really, I think that, so thanks for asking that. I mean, the reality is, and that kind of helps define why I'm even here, right? You know, you asked me, so why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this thing called a podcast? Well, first of all, I didn't even know. I mean, I knew what a podcast was. Who doesn't? But I had never listened to really many of them, and it wasn't really a thing that I had done. Little did I know that, you know, Warren Buffett would say in, you know, January, podcasts are the new thing in 2023. Well, that was after I had already made this decision. But the reason I'm here is to if there could be any sparks of inspiration for anyone to say, you know what? That guy looks like he's having a great time and is happy about life. You know, maybe there's an opportunity for me to do that. And when we see something in someone too, again, going back to the point, you know, the thing that I had mentioned earlier, like we're on that frequency. And that's something, when we see something in someone else, that's something we see in ourselves, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Right. And so that goes back to that. Everybody has something of this inside of us. Right. And because of the body that we're in now, it's the same inner life force that was in us when we were born, right? That when we were children. It's the same inner life force that hasn't changed. I was walking on the beach this morning with my wife, and I saw a young woman come by, and her shirt said "Vintage 1981, original parts." And I'm like, right, like nothing else is original technically. If you look at the cells, right? If you go down to the cellular and the molecular level, everything's changed. But the soul, the spirit, the whatever you want to call it, the inner knowing, the inner intuition, subconscious, God, light, whatever you want to call it, it's not a religious thing. It's just very simply the energy of life, the energy that's inside of us, the energy that, you know, allows me to move my fingers, the energy that gives us the intelligence to realize where we are right now in this moment, right? And so if that very well is the universal thing, right? And that is the thing, like that was the catalyst. That was like realizing that every decision that I had made, you know, on top of the fact that when I was reading this Becoming Supernatural book, I had reached out to people I hadn't reached out to in months randomly, and they said, "Oh my God, I'm reading that book. Oh my God, I'm reading that book." I'm like, "What? You're reading that book too? Are you kidding me? Wow. How incredible. What validation, right? You know, little signs from the universe." It's almost like, you know, there's this quote, you can live as if nothing is a miracle, or you can live as if everything is a miracle, right? And so like that in and of itself, like, why not? And that goes back to the baseline perfection of baseline, you know, baseline, having the baseline of perfection, right? And if you think about that, like that applies to that quote. Why not? How does that not apply to that quote, right? In us trying to have this collective building upon one another. And if you think about it as a universal intelligence and all of these quotes and all of these people that have done these incredible, extraordinary things, whether it's Einstein, which also is one that believes in the inner, that in something inside. Nikola Tesla, he is also one that had published quotes about believing in the inner feeling and believing in an intuition and believing in that inner force that's inside of us, right? And that inner intelligence. And all of these people of greatness have this in common. Why are we not like checking this out? Like it's right in front of us, literally right in front of us, right? The Oscars, this movie that won everything at the Oscars, 7 Oscars out of 11, everything, everywhere, all at once. Now there's a lot of crazy, things that happen in that movie, from a like negative killing, staples to the face, all this crazy stuff. But you know what? That movie is are examples of what's possible in quantum physics. Right? Natasha Lyonne, your shows are incredible. Oh my God. Like having a show that literally provides examples of what happens and what's possible based on the elements of quantum mechanics and quantum physics, right? And the energy that she has, like I saw her and Andy Cohen again. Andy Cohen, amazing. Thank you for having a network that allowed me to observe people. Thank you to my wife for helping me realize the value that is Bravo. But I realize it now, and looking back in the decade or so that I've watched the network since it started, like I've been observing people's lives on TV forever, for a decade, right? Or however long it's been. And oh my God, what insights you have, and I feel like I potentially have gained into watching all of these human interactions that I would have never seen if I wasn't watching Bravo all the time. And Natasha Lyonne on Bravo, I have not seen such an engaging conversation that Andy Cohen had with her. Like the energy, she says she mentioned quantum physics within the first 15 seconds. And oh my God, the energy of that show was incredible. It was so incredible, right? It was so incredible. And then I was watching Andy again, and Jimmy Fallon. Oh my, Jimmy Fallon celebrating his 15th year anniversary or whatever, randomly, the energy that he had in that moment, I felt like I was there. I was watching it. I felt literally, Jimmy, you got some energy, man. You have some energy. And I will tell you, in that moment, I think everybody felt it. And then we're calming down, and then Annie's like, no, it wasn't. And I'm like, I felt like I was back in my couch, and I'm like, oh my God, all right, this is not me, like right there in the clubhouse with Jimmy. This is something but the energy and then again, and we all love, who doesn't love Jimmy Fallon, right? I've always loved Jimmy Fallon, but that's a great example of just like little things in front of us, little things that if we can give ourselves the opportunity to have awareness into, oh my God, like we might start having higher levels of frequency and positive emotions and positive discussions and positive like energy, right? And allowing us to overcome all of those negative things, right? And if emotions are stored in the body and the universe is as, perfect, right? Then why wouldn't it be something based on something so simple as light and information? Right? Why wouldn't it be something that as you go through life, things pop up that you need to overcome? Why wouldn't it be that? Why wouldn't it be that simple? Like, as a logical person that has been in business, that is, I feel like I've done, halfway decent in my life. Like it just makes sense. Why would it have to be so complicated? Why can't it be so simple? And Riley, going back to your question on the catalyst, it just kept getting more simple. I kept pulling things away that didn't make sense and having like super complex or complicated things. I just started like, no, moving on. Let's simplify. Right. And you watch Paul McCartney writing the songs. He's like, simplify. Let's simplify. I mean, and it really, again, it just seems so simple that. And I'm sitting here saying it seems so simple, and everybody's probably like, what the hell are you talking about, man? It's not simple. Life is hard. And it is if you have that perspective. It is if, again, Steve Harvey, if you say you ain't never going to be that, nope, not going to happen. But if you say you are, very good chance, right? And so why not take these little tidbits of things that we resonate with and actually apply them in our lives? Why not build ourselves up and accept things as truth that we can then build upon, and then get to a place in which we're like, look back in 6 months and say, man, like, certainly things still come up in my life that, suck every once in a while, or thoughts come up and things happen. But you know what? Like, wow, like I actually see a difference. I actually see, and it doesn't need to be months. Like, I mean, I'll tell you, like, at least for me, it was, within a few, like the same day I told you, I mean, my freaking body was vibrating. I mean, how does that not feel, different? And it was a little weird, I'll tell you, like, and I didn't even think about the tuning fork thing until a colleague of mine, Thomas, thank you, Thomas, said, oh, like a tuning fork. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's exactly right. Because what does a tuning fork do? Like, tune into a frequency. And I'm like, oh, it's all coming together. Frequency, information, light, all that good stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. And really it was the validations along the way that kept kind of popping up into my awareness that I was kind of looking for, kind of looking for little things that are validating. And they kept coming to me. That's the other thing, is they kept coming to me instead of, I was always the person that was following up, always forcing everything because I had to be in control. I had to, if I didn't know, oh my God, no, I need to know. If I don't know, are you crazy? I must know. I can't operate if I don't know. Little by little, moment by moment, just started letting go. And then, what happens is instead of me spending my time and my thoughts on things that I feel like I need to be controlling, I start looking at flowers or birds or, just tasting the food in front of me that I'm eating. Right. And then trying to get better at things, trying to give myself like little mechanism. Right. And so like, how you think and how you feel. All right, great example. There's this place next to me, like El Jefe Luchador, incredible. They have this pork belly quesadilla. Oh my God, if you don't, whatever. It's amazing. So I'll go there and I say, oh my God, I am going to have the most incredible, delicious meal I've ever had, ever. It's going to be so good. The flavor is going to be delicious. And the texture, oh my God, this is so good. I can't believe it's better than the last time. Swear to God, that's happened like over and over again. And it's gotten better every time. No joke. And it's like little things that we try. And if, okay, it works on that. And then you know what happens is I forget to do it, or I'm angry, or I'm anxious or upset. You know what happens? It's like, oh, it's all right. it was decent. It was decent. And so, but again, it's like, it really just kind of speaks to a lot of the experiments and a lot of the things that people use as reference points. Bruce Lipton uses an experiment that I've seen on Instagram Reels, and Mindset Vibrations is one of those that has good Instagram Reels that, like I said, shout outs, for where give credit where credit's due. And one of the experiments he talks about is, Riley, I've shared this with you before, where people, they took cells off of a person that experienced fear. They put them into a little petri dish. They took cells off of a person that experienced feelings of love, right? And they put it into petri dish. Feelings of love grew and flourished and turned into and kept multiplying. Whereas the petri dish of fear, everything died. Literally everything died, right? And so if what's true that happens on a molecular level happens on a larger level, then why wouldn't that be something that we could at least give the opportunity to explore and let us figure it out for ourselves? Right. And I think that's one big thing that I've learned is if I can just, instead of thinking about it and thinking about like either how I don't want to do it or how it won't work or anything like that, just trying it. Why not? And then, but again, giving yourself the credit. Like I said, it took me like, once I had made the decision that I wanted to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes, which in and of itself was like a big deal. It took me 3 days, 3.5 days in the middle of the afternoon where I'm like, okay, I got 20 minutes now, I can break to do it, and so it's recognizing like, all right, I did it, and then let me do it again. And then let me do it. And whether it's a calendar, whether it's like checking it off, like I did it. And every day I've done something, and every day, and then it's turned into, because this, a lot of, and as I've mentioned with my meditation now, it's a mixture of things. It's things that I've pulled from, whether it was Deepak Chopra, whether it was Wayne Dyer, whether it was Joe Dispenza, whether it was different other people, or things that I've experienced that seem to help me more. Sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling in that day, I'll do one thing versus I'll do another, right? And for me, right now, I don't want to be sitting quietly in a chair for hours. I want to be living. I'm here to live. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have joy. I feel like we are all here for that. That we're here to have experiences to overcome our karmas that we need to realize and learn lessons from, and allow and accept these experiences as lessons, and allow and accept these experiences to look into these things and say, all right, what am I supposed to figure out here? All right, it sucks. Yes, check. It sucks. All right, well, like, so what sucks about it? What is the potential lesson here? What's the potential thing that I can learn? What's the potential thing that I can accept and then work to resolve through, right? And then visualize it, just like the quesadilla. Visualize it like a perfect scenario. Visualize a happy outcome to what it is that you want. And I'll be the first to admit that's incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult, right? It's so difficult to do that on some occasions, right? Especially when there's emotions involved and with people that you love and people that you care about, or things that you put so much love and energy into over years sometimes, right? And so it's not always easy, but giving yourself the opportunity to say, you know what, that's okay. I didn't have that great of a day, but or moments. If you've gotten to that point, yeah, good for you. If you have, and being able to move on and being able to like trust yourself that, all right, even if it's not something that you can overcome now, and you're going to say, listen, I'll put this away, or I'll like not thinking about it, and I'll focus on something else, and then just trust that when it's right, that might come up in the future, and that maybe you'll be ready for it next time, right? Just like as you shared in your example of awareness in a certain current situation, right? And you told me, you said a great quote. It's like, so this is credit to you, Riley. You're like, songs resonate with you at different parts of your life, right? Depending on the circumstances, right? And it's the same with quotes. It's the same with people. It's the same with experiences. Einstein has a great quote. He says, you can't solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it, right? So super simple concept, but just that concept itself, you can potentially connect with and realize, oh wow, like, and if that might be true in every moment, well then I'm building on it. Like, let me build on that. Let me build on that truth. Let me build on that thing. Let me continue to expand my consciousness. Let me continue to expand my awareness. Let me continue to give myself credit for being present, right? I mean, I can tell you, and I think most of us can agree, anytime we're present with one another and we're having an engaging conversation, it's like time flies. Like here, I mean, we've been here, Riley, we've been here over an hour, and I feel like we've been here 5 minutes, right? And to Einstein's point, that's relativity. That is relativity, right? Things that we enjoy happen so fast, and things that we hate happen so long. That in and of itself is a definition of relativity, right? And we'll talk in another episode about the concept of time, and all of these kind of elements of because that was one thing that I was like kind of dumbfounded with. I was like, what do you mean the past, the present, and the future are all happening in the same moment? Excuse me? That's not possible. That is certainly not possible. And the simplest thing that I tried to, it took a lot of time. Yeah, here we go, talking about time. Scratch that. Took a lot of effort in many present moments to have the awareness to apply conscious thought to say, how could this potentially work? Could it be that every present moment, right, is a future moment of a past moment, and every present moment is a past moment of a future moment, right? And just thinking about that for a moment, and then realizing, and listen, it took me, and just using time as an element of gauging when things happen in my life or our lives, instead of like a timeline that we need to adhere to. That was probably one of the biggest things that helped me try and change my perspective of time as being a record marker of when things happened within our current awareness, instead of it being something that I'm always trying to be on a timeline against, right? And giving ourselves the opportunity to look at it from a different perspective and turn it upside down, right? And just as if we're in our world and we're thinking, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. No, Steve Harvey, we get to do this. We get to wake up. We get to do this. We get to do that. Like we have the ability to make choices. And everybody's saying, oh, I can't do that. I got jobs, I got, bills, I got all these things, I got a family, I got problems. Well, certainly we all do. But like, what if just one moment a day, we make a decision toward something that is better or joyful or happy or positive, right? And then giving ourselves credit to say, all right, I did one thing today. And the next day you do two things. The next day you do three things. As Warren Buffett will tell you on compound interest, like compound consciousness, can we use that principle, please? Like, I've never heard that, but I just came up with it. It sounds like a good term, right? So like, just as you put money in the bank and you get compound interest, right? To be able to let that be something that's why he wants to see his compound interest come to fruition of everything he started in the 60s, right? So like, we can be the ones that apply that compound interest to our own consciousness. We are the ones that do that. We are the ones that make choices to either do that or not do that, right? And so that when we do it and we choose to do that and we choose to apply things that might bring us happiness or might bring us joy, who knows? You might find yourself in a way in which you look back and you're like, wow, I don't do those things anymore. Or wow, look at what I'm doing now. Or wow, look at the people that are around me, right? That I've surrounded myself with. I've let go of all of those toxic, relationships and all of those toxic circumstances. And I've grown beyond that. It didn't happen in a day. It didn't happen in a week. It happened over months or it happened over years. But you know what? I kept moving and I kept moving forward. And I claimed control. I claimed control of my energy. And I was able to move forward. And oh my God, wow, look at that. Look at that. Something to celebrate, something to be happy for, and something to be grateful for. And, that in and of itself, gratitude is you start, as I mentioned, the birds and the trees and the leaves and the flowers. It's like everything just becomes so much more simple, and the ability to appreciate little things is incredible and see things in an entirely different way. Oh, great perspective. So, one thing like the eyes, what do they say? Like, well, the quote is beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But I'm going to replace beauty with perspective for a moment, right? And so perspective is certainly in the eye of the beholder, right? And I think all of us, if we just think about that for a moment, that we would see that as true. I didn't even realize this until recently, and my wonderful wife helped me kind of appreciate this. And she's like, "Of course, that's how it is." And I'm like, "Great, now I know." But it was so the sun. If you're ever looking at I'm super fortunate to live near the beach, and so we walk on the beach frequently. And I was walking in the morning, and I'm like, man, like I feel like the sun's following me, like the sun rays along the ocean. It was sunrise and the sun rays along the ocean, and I'm like, oh, I guess because you can clearly see the sun reflecting off the ocean and off of boats, and then I'm over there and it's there too. And I'm like, well, that can't be the case. And so I had this like epiphany. I was like, oh my God, like the sun is everybody's own perspective, right? And so what might look like it's sunny over here for you, it might not be sunny over there for them, right? And if we take that, I mean, I'll say it's an analogy, but it's a reality. If we take that perspective or that application of that point, and then apply that to our own lives for perspective and what we see and what we experience. And yes, of course, every moment can either be, not a miracle or it can be a miracle, right? And give ourselves credit and trust ourselves. And it's like, even before this whole journey started, people would say, well, find yourself, be yourself. What the hell does that even mean? Nobody knows what that means. I didn't know what that meant, right? I had no idea. I had no idea what that meant. And it really just was a series of choices in which I said, there's got to be something better. There's got to be something better. And oh my God, if I can choose joy, then let me choose joy. And let me feel what that feels like. Let me feel what that feels like. What does joy feel like? I had a hard time when I was meditating and Joe Dispenza's telling you, feel positive feelings. What the hell does that feel like? I don't know what that feels like. The last time I felt a positive feeling, was like, I don't know. Who knows? Right. And so I think that's part of what Paul, let's talk about this. All right, please, Sir Paul, let's have a conversation. Let's meet. Let's talk. right? What does that feeling feel like? How do we connect with that feeling? How do we know it? How do we trust it? And it's certainly going to be different for everybody. Absolutely, it's different. But can we? Is it for me, at least for now, and what I've learned, it is like a vibration. It is like feeling your heart center and then feeling expansive. And Joe Dispenza's meditations, he's like center, focus your feeling and then expand your feeling. Focus your feeling and expand your feeling. Focus your feeling and expand your feeling in different energy centers, in the heart and in the throat and in the in the head in several areas. And so and that really helped. But again, it's like, people say, oh, be positive. Well, if you don't do it, well, how do you know? I didn't really know. And this feeling about feeling, who the hell knows what feelings are? All I ever knew was bad feelings, or all I ever remembered was bad feelings, right? And then this whole concept of get back, right? Oh my, here we are talking about this thing and having this amazing, insanely great podcast, and it's like, again, I almost canceled today because I didn't feel I wasn't all there in terms of all my positive, joyful self, and I'm like, forget that. I can't do that. I committed to this. I made a choice. And so like, let's do it. Let's go for it. Right. And so get back to the present moment, get back to our feeling, get back to who we are truly inside, and then connect with that. And then form a relationship with what that is, right? And then trust yourself, trust that you're not going to figure it out in a day. You're not going to figure it out in a week. You're not going to figure it out in, maybe a few months. But you know what? I'll tell you, there's been days I'm like, oh my God, like this week was amazing. Like I have a new feeling that I'd never felt before. I'm feeling things that I've never felt before. And that continues to happen. And it doesn't happen every day. It's probably, I'll say there's certain milestones and certain things that have happened, at least in my own journey. But, and that's the other thing is like when we're on this journey, keep it to yourself. As I said earlier, like, you share things with your friends, what you want to do, but you know what happens? Daggers of doubt. I call them daggers of doubt. People throwing daggers of doubt, darts of doubt at your balloons of joy and happiness. Don't let that happen. Like, and if that does happen, say, nope, not true. That ain't it. This is me. I'm happy. I'm joyful. I am what I am, and I'm happy for it. And this is who I decide to be, right? And give ourselves credit to do that. And don't let anybody tell us what to do. Don't let anybody tell us what to do. You know how many inspirational, people say that within their life? Nobody, all they told them, they said they can't do that. They said they can't do that. Michael Jordan and all these other people they stand on the shoulders of giants, right? What does that actually mean? For me, that means something like with the things that we talked about before, quotes, songs, things that people have experienced in their life, right? That were lessons that they learned with, that they resonated, that they shared with people, right? And so all of these things are little things of the giants. So, we have these incredible people in our world. Why not like actually apply the things that they're telling us to do instead of saying, oh, I can't do that. That's impossible. Dictionary definition impossible. Throw that out the door. Focus on what is possible, and anything you can think and anything you can feel and anything you ultimately are. And that's what it is that, how you think and how you feel is who you are and being. And we can't become, I believe at least that in this moment that I can't become exactly who it is that I want to be unless I feel those feelings of what that is, unless I see myself doing what it is that I want to be doing. And I'm having, and I see, and I'm having this incredible, like, oh my God, this is happening. Just like this podcast, like, oh my God, this is happening. We have all these viewers. We're touching all these people with the positive elements of sparks of inspiration, right? And being something that people can resonate with, and people can like have a few moments of joy to have fun or think about, or have someone talk about or think about things that maybe they've been thinking about, but they're like, they haven't run across anybody that said it. Right. And so it's incredible. Life is unbelievably perfect in every moment. And I think a lot of us just don't even give ourselves the opportunity to have the awareness of that and appreciate that and have gratitude for that and be in the moment and be present. And yes, I was watching I rewatched the documentary, and I've listened to the Rooftop album, and so, and maybe this is a preview. Maybe this is like a little preview section for the next episode on Get Back. But again, going back to the trailer, right? If there is, let's say there is this universal intelligence, which is in theory and qualified and supported by the mechanics of quantum physics and different elements of that, as well as epigenetics and other things, and so which is an entirely separate discussion, but all kind of together in some element, of how you think and how you feel, right? And watching back the documentary, just even watching things that they said. If you watch in the very beginning, George Harrison came in one day and he was like, man, Billy Preston, he was amazing. When we were in Hamburg, he was better than Little Richard. He was better than Little Richard, and it was so incredible. He was so incredible. Fast forward 3 weeks, he randomly shows up for an interview in London, and he just stops by to say hello. And then John's like, hey, you want to join the, play on a couple things? And he's like, are you kidding? Of course. Absolutely. Why not? Are you kidding? Absolutely. You'll get credit. You'll be on the album, this and that. And then, as I shared before, he jumps in and they said, oh, we should play some back. And then George says, no, it's probably better if we just play the number, and he picks it up. Sure enough, they start playing I've Got a Feeling. Oh my God, Paul McCartney, you look at your facial expression and the energy you have watching Billy Preston play is, oh my God, yes, this is going to be amazing. This is exactly what we needed. That's exactly what we needed, right? And then that's just one example. And that's just one example. But if you look back, it's how some of the things materialized, right? Some of the things they said and some of the feelings that they had when they were talking about it, and then what actually eventually manifested, right? Like a lot in this kind of place of this new, whatever you want to call this new world of thought or whatever it is. It's like we get into this. I lost my train of thought, which means I shouldn't be talking about it right now. We'll talk about it next time. But see, just accepting it and moving on, right? But George, George Harrison would said like something like it should be just a nightclub scene, like 10 people, something super simple, and the how and the when. That's what it was. We want to be we always so the quesadilla example. I was thinking about having an incredible quesadilla, the most incredible quesadilla I've ever had. I wasn't thinking about how it was going to happen or when it was going to happen. I mean, I kind of knew because it was a short-term thing. So that's like a super simple example. But a lot of big things in life, it's hard to do that, right? Because we want to control things. We want to, if we don't know, we're not in control, and we don't give ourselves the opportunity to just let it be, right? Thank you, Paul. And so we're going through our lives, and if we just kind of let things flow and let things come to a place and let them settle, that's exactly where they ended up. And where they ended up was with a guy, Billy Preston, who they spent time with in their original days when, let's be honest, they were having fun. They were having the fun time of their lives, right? They went through this whole thing of touring and everything, and it was fun, of course, for a thing, but they, and later throughout the documentary, John's on guitar, he's playing, I think we should focus on the sound, and what do you, okay, all right. It took George leaving the group for them to have a meeting to then say, all right, let's bring it back to Apple and let's focus on the sound and let's get everything there so we can focus on the sound. If they had done it in some other place, there's no way the sound would have been as good as they would have captured it, and all of those things kind of manifested into what it actually became. I haven't even eaten anything all day today. I've only had 2 cups of coffee this morning at like 6 a.m. and two liter and a half of water, and that's it. I have not eaten a thing today. It is 2:45 in the afternoon in sunny Deerfield Beach, Florida. I have not consumed 1 ounce of food today, and here we are having an amazing podcast in the sunshine.